Hi everyone, Linda here, the scrapbooking photographer. Thanks for joining me today. I've had a bit of a tidy up in my craft room, so I'm dying to make it messy again because it just feels so foreign. Today's hop is Pour Your Way Into Our Hearts, and this is our cat Memphis. Now Memphis turned up on our deck one day, and she basically decided she was going to live with us. We didn't have a cat, we only had dogs. She rocked up and hung around, and she did move in, and you know, it took us 2 years to get her in the same room as the dogs. So she was a determined little miss, absolutely gorgeous cat, part of our family for over 10 years, and when it came time to say goodbye, it was one of the toughest days, as they all are. So I'm going to document her today with these beautiful photos, which I believe were taken by my youngest son Patrick on our deck, which was just her place. She loved the deck, which is fair enough, because that's where she became part of us. Now I have a few kind of ideas. I don't really know how it's going to turn out, but I just found this paper. So we're going to have a play with that. And I have printed a title out on the Cricut with her name. Now I have a dot here as well, which I must be careful not to lose. This is also going to fill the criteria for a challenge from Soul Scrappers to use a one-word title. We've got letters, I can't remember what the other letters are, but M is one of them. So M, just the one word. I'm also going to use some black glitter paper, and I'm going to follow a sketch from Scrapping Reflections Follow Along February. Now the sketch is this one. As soon as I saw the sketch, I loved it. I think it's by Sandie Reverski. If it's not, I apologise to the person who has done it, but I believe it's Sandie's, and I just loved it. I didn't have a chance to follow along in February with the sketches, but this one has been in my mind for some time to do, and Memphis just fits perfectly on it. First thing I'm going to do is gut the middle of this glitter paper. It's quite thick glitter paper from close to my heart, and it works really well on the Cricut machine, so I've cut the title out of the middle of it, and I'll take the rest of it out so I can use the offcuts for mounting the photos. So you can see there I've left about an inch all the way around, and with this inside piece I'm going to cut it at 6 1/4 wide and then trim it to 4 1/4. So I get a little bit left over, but that will give me enough to have a small outline around the photos. So to fit on top of that is our coloured piece of paper, which I'm going to take 1 inch off 2 sides. So here I'll turn it around because there's one side of this paper that has got a nice dark pink all along the top, and I'm going to use that as the bottom to give it some grounding. And then I've taken 1 inch off another side as well, which gives a 1/2 inch border all the way round. So then I can position my 3 photos with the already cut mounts of the black glitter paper behind them. But because I've cut the piece of paper down, I'm going to have to fiddle a little bit, obviously, to make them all fit properly, because adding the mount makes the photos wider and trimming the page makes the page smaller. But that's okay, we can overlap it into the glitter outline and it looks quite cool like that. So I'm happy with that. Now off this leftover piece of glitter paper, I'm cutting a strip that's about 1/2 inch, because I had thought it might be nice to have a barrier down the side before we put the pieces of cardstock off to the right. So you can see here that I'm just trying the different colours. I did think that the black glitter paper might work, but because the title is in the black, it wouldn't show up. So I go for a combination of ballerina, mulberry, pewter, and a little bit of this Irresistibles cardstock, which I've cut a 2 inch strip off and then realised that I needed to go the other way so that the hearts were facing the right way up. So as you colour this with the blending brushes, the hearts stay white, but you can put your colour of choice onto the cardstock. So I've used mulberry so that it blends in nicely with the other colours that I've chosen for this page. And then it's a matter of working out how I'm going to make the strips and what size I'm going to make the strips to fit the way the sketch has. So looking at the sketch, there's about 9 different pieces of cardstock and 3 different colours. So I've got 4 different colours. So the first thing I'm going to do is trim this heart one down so that it's got an even distance above and below the hearts, and we've got 2 strips. And I'm just going to cut it into 3 different sizes. And I'll go through the different colours, and with this one I'm going a little bit wider so that we've got different widths and different lengths of everything, which is similar to what the sketch has. And then I'll just have a wee fiddle and see if I can make them fit. So the last colour to trim here is the ballerina, and I'm going quite narrow with that. I think it's about 1.5 inches, and again just 3 different strips. So they're all ready to put on the page, but before that I think it's a good idea to stick everything down. So because the paper stock is going onto glitter cardstock, it's best to use glue rather than a double-sided tape. I found that with double-sided tape it just comes away really quickly. So here I'm using some aqua glue and just putting it all the way around the edge, and then using the Versamat to make sure I've got everything lined up. And you have got a little bit of time to move things around with this glue before it sets too much. In fact, I end up putting this under a book to help everything stick together. So I'll do the same with the photos, using the aqua glue on the back and just putting it all over the back and then placing it onto the cardstock. And that will hopefully keep it in place. The interesting thing is though that I don't go right to the edge with that. I put it more in the middle of the photo and let it squelch out. But sometimes the corners are a bit dry and they look as though they're lifting, so I will end up going back in and just topping up around the edges. So I'll put these under my heavy gardening book to make sure everything's set before I stick them onto the page. And you may have noticed that I trimmed down the photo of Memphis's face, which is going at the top. So they are all in there setting, and while they're setting underneath the big book, I'll try and organise these strips of cardstock the way I want them. So I've sped this bit up a little bit more because it does take me a while to fiddle, and I'm using the black strip here as a bit of an edge. Originally my intention was to put that onto the page, but when I re-looked at the sketch there isn't one, and Sandie has tucked the strips straight under the photos, which actually makes it a lot easier because I can decide how far out I want them to come and tuck the left hand side end under, and it doesn't really matter how far they go in. So I'll stick these photos down. Now to stick them onto the paper, because the back of the glitter cardstock is going onto paper, I can do that with a tape runner. That will be fine. And here I am just topping up these corners like I mentioned before. So once that's done, I'll just have to wipe away a little bit of excess with a paper towel because you don't want the glue sticking to the wrong things. And then I will line these up on the side. See there, I'm putting the strip in and then I get rid of it again. So I'll speed this up again because we're lining them up a different way now, and you can see that it's kind of coming together, and then I end up bringing them down so that we get a little bit of the background at the top and the bottom. And I also don't want the strips with the hearts on underneath the title because I want us to be able to read it. It's always interesting to see what other people come up with for these sketches, and there will be a file on the Scrapping Reflections Facebook page with everybody else's version of the sketch. I know one creator made these strips into tags, which I thought was a clever idea. So I'm still fiddling with these, and then at some point I have to make a call and start sticking them down. So I'll start at the top and work my way down, and it doesn't take too long really. So thank you for bearing with me while I go through this process. It's been a bit longer than I thought it would be, but I think it's going to be worth it when it's finished. So I end up with this one piece of strip left over because I really want the black title to go on the clear strips. So I'll tuck this one of hearts just under in the background there, and that will have that piece finished. Then I can put some glue on the title and get that down there. So I'm using the same aqua glue as I used for the glitter cardstock before. This is going on the back and going to cardstock, so it would probably be okay with tape runner, but it's just easier to run around it with the glue, and then I'll press it down under the book again. Because I want it to be straight, I'll turn the page around, and that helps me to even things up a bit, and I'll just wipe off the excess glue around the outside, and then of course I need to find the dot for the eye and put that where it needs to be to complete that title. So just a wee dot of glue on there, and it goes on upside down, so we turn that over. Yay, all done. So to finish off, or what I think is finishing off, I'm going to add a few glitter gems. Now while I'm doing this, I'll tell you that I looked at the criteria for the Soul Scrappers Challenge, and not only was it to have a one-word title, which M meets the criteria, but it was also to have some splatters in the background. So I thought I had missed the boat, but actually when I look at this, I have put all the glitter gems on the cardstock. So I'll put this underneath the big book to help everything stick for a little while, and then I'll come back and take it away from underneath and decide to add the splatters around that right hand side. So squeezing the top of my black ink pad into the ink and then splashing a little bit of water on it. I guess I could either cover what I've got on top of the background, or I can take it off. And because it's all attached to each other, it's pretty easy just to lift it up and get it out of the way. I think to cover everything would have been too tricky with all the bits jutting out. So I'll take this off and just move it to one side. And then using my fan brush, mix around the water and the ink, and then just splatter it, just like the word describes, all around the outside until I've got some good covering. Then I'll leave that to dry, and before I put my ink pad away, I'll get the paper towel and give it a good wipe around in that lid, because you don't want the water to contaminate the ink pad. So I can put that away, wipe up the mat, and then when everything is dry, I can come back with a little bit of new sticky just to make sure everything sticks properly. Now of course nothing goes back in completely the right place, so I do have to be careful to make sure that things are straight, and there has been one small accident with that I after the H, but that's pretty easy to fix up. So everything's straight, and then I can add in a little bit more adhesive just under some of these corners to make them all stick down nicely. And as I look at it, I find that the extra bit up the top is needed, and also the dot on the eye has just snuck underneath that piece of ballerina. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of tape runner on him and put him back where he should be. So that is all done and meeting all the criteria now. So thank you so much for watching, and happy crafting everyone.